Kuzambo, welcome to Bhutan e-learning project. I am Yeshidoji, a teacher of Changsamto Middle Secondary School. Today, we have another type of lesson under the commercial mathematics. In our country, you know that we have 5 financial institutions, namely Bank of Bhutan Limited, Bhutan National Bank Limited, Bhutan Development Bank Limited, Druk Punjab National Bank Limited, and Tashi Bank Limited. We have 5 banks. And those banks, you may be wondering how they function, how they are surviving, how they operate. Actually, when they receive a saving from the individual, they pay a less interest. And whereas when they render a loan to the people, they render in a higher interest. In that way, they operate, they survive, and they make a money. So today, we are going to look into types of interest and how to calculate that interest. So interests are of 2 types, simple interest and compound interest. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to state what is simple interest, what is compound interest, and also you should be able to solve some question on simple interest and compound interest. Okay, let's go to simple interest. You know, simple interest, it is interest calculated on principal. So, it is determined by SI or just I is equal to PRT, where P stands for principal, R stands for rate of interest, and T stands for time. And after having the interest, we have a total amount. That total amount represented by A. So A is equal to interest plus the principal. With these 2, let's solve one question for the simple interest. Example number 1. So this is a problem on simple interest. Listen carefully. If we have invested Niltrum 10,000 at 4%, find the simple interest and total amount at the end of 1 year. So here, as usual, you have to analyze the question and list down the given. Invested Niltrum 10,000. What is that? It is the principal P. So principal P is equal to Niltrum 10,000. Then from the question at 4%. What is that 4%? It is the rate of interest. That means it is R. R is equal to 4%. Then at the end of 1 year, what is that year? Month, year, days. What are they? They are the time. So T is equal to 1 year. Therefore, simple interest will be calculated as by the formula PRT. Then we substitute the given into that formula. P is 10,000 times rate is 4% times T is 1. Remember, the time should be in a year. Suppose if it is given in a month, then you have to convert that month into a year. Do you get me? So here, just now for here, it is easy. Time is directly given as 1 year. So replace it by 1. Then 10,000 times 4 over 100. 4% means 4 over 100 times 1 is equal to Niltrum 400. When you solve that one, you are going to get Niltrum 400. Therefore, simple interest on your principal 10,000 interest, that means interest on your principal 10,000 is nil term 400. Therefore, what is the amount that you are going to get in total after addition of interest? So amount by the formula it is given as principal plus the simple interest. Therefore, amount is equal to 10,000 plus 400. It is equal to 10,400. Therefore, you can conclude as after 1 year with your investment of nil term 10,000, you are going to get a total of nil term 10,400. That is how we calculate the simple interest. Then I have one activity for you if I have understood the above example. Question number 1. Lemo deposited nil term 18,000 in the bank earning 3% interest for a period of 3 years. What is the amount she will earn after 3 years? Here you are asked to find the amount after 3 years. So amount is determined by principal plus simple interest. So simple interest is not given here. You have to calculate the interest first and then add to the principal nil term 18,000. You are going to get the amount. Now let's proceed to the another type of interest, that is compound interest. So let's look into how the bank calculates the compound interest. First, let us understand what is compound interest. Compound interest, interest on interest. That means here the interest will be calculated on your principal plus the interest. So annually it will be added or calculated interest on your principal and on your interest. Compound interest is determined by amount is equal to principal times, open the bracket, 1 plus rate, that is R, over number of terms, number of compounding, raised to NT. A stands for amount, P stands for principal, R stands for interest rate, N stands for number of interest period. That means it is a compounding frequency. And T stands for time period. When we say compounding frequency, there are types of compounding frequency. What are the frequency of compounding or compounding frequency? First one is compounded annually. Interest is calculated after 1 year. That means in terms of month, it is 12 months because in 1 year there are 12 months. Then second one is compounded semi-annually, every after 6 months or half yearly. N is equal to 2. If it is annually, you have to consider N is equal to 1. If it is semi-annually, then you have to consider N is equal to 2. And what about if it is quarterly? So if it is quarterly, then in a year there are 4 quarters. So N will be equal to 4. Then if it is monthly, then N will be equal to 12. If the interest is compounded daily, then N is equal to 365. Time period. Sometimes the time period in a question won't be given. If it is not given, then it is important for you to understand from the compounding frequency. If the compounding frequency is annually, then you should know that the time period is 1 year. Here, the time period will be 1 if it is annually. What about if it is semi-annually? Time period will be equal to, if it is semi-annually, then you should know that it is after 6 months. As I said you that it should be converted to a year, then it should be 6 divided by 12. It comes to half. So that means it is half year. Time period will be half year. It will be 1/2. In a 1 quarter, there are 3 months. So when you convert this one to year, it will be 3/12 months. So you are going to get time as 1/4 year. Then if it is monthly, then you know they're monthly. So it will be 1 month out of 12 months in a year. Therefore, time period for monthly will be 1/12. Let's solve some question. Example number 1. Determine the value of Niltrum 5000 investment after 2 years if it is invested at an interest rate of 7% per annum. P.A. means per annum, compounded at each frequency. A. Annually, semi-annually, quarterly, monthly, daily. You have to find for this month. Given principal P is equal to Niltrum 5000. Time period is 2 years. N, since it is the first annually, so N is equal to 1. And rate is given as 7%. That 7%, if you convert it to decimal, then it will come to 0.07. And you have to find the amount. What is A? Amount is given by principal times 1 plus R over N raised to NT. P is 5000 times 1 plus rate, we have already converted to decimal, we have 0.07 over N, since it is annually 1, component frequency is 1, raised to 1 times 2. By Patman's rule, 5000 times 1 plus 0.07 over 1 is itself. Raised to 1 times 2 is 2. Then we solve inside the bracket. 5000 times 1 plus 0.07 is equal to 1.07 raised to 2. Then when you solve this one, you solve first exponent, that means 1.07 raised to 2, you solve it that times the principal 5000. You will get it Niltrum 5724.5. On your investment value of Niltrum 5000, if it is compounded annually, then your amount, total amount after 2 years will be Niltrum 5724.5. From 5000, it has increased to 5724.5. It is increased by a value of 724.5. So that is how we calculate annually. Similarly, we will go for semi-annually. Other terms remain same. The only difference is the compounding frequency. Principal is Niltrum 5000 same. Time period 2 years is same. Only the difference is the compounding frequency. Here it is semi-annually, so N is equal to 2. Rate is same 7%, that it makes to 0.07. Now same, you have to find the amount. Amount is equal to P times 1 plus R over N, the whole raised to NT. 5000 times 1 plus 0.07, that is a rate, over N raised to 2 times 2. Follow the BATMAS. Division comes first according to the BATMAS. 0.07 divided by 2 is equal to 0.035. Raised to, so exponent, it's okay to calculate together since it does not hamper anywhere in the calculation. It becomes 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Next step is 5000 times 1 plus 0.035. Still the bracket is there. So when you add these 2 inside the bracket, you are going to get 1.035 raised to 4. Solve the exponent and multiply by 5000. 5737.62. Let's go to next one, that is quarterly. If the compounding is quarterly, principal, time, rate is same. The only difference here is the compounding frequency, as I have already said. Here the compounding frequency is N is equal to 4. Quarterly means 4 times in a year. Then using that compound interest formula, we will substitute those values into the formula. A is equal to 5000 times 1 plus 0.07, that is a rate, over N is 4 raised to, N is 4 times 2. So it makes 2. You solve it. When you solve, it makes to 5000 times 1 plus 0.0175. When you solve, divide 0.07 divided by 4, it makes to 0.0175. Raised to 4 times 2 is 8. 1 plus 0.0175 adds to 1.0175. Exponent, that is raised to 8. Times the 5000, we are going to get neutron 5744.41. Now you compare. The amount in quarterly compounding is 5744.41 and semi-annually it is 5737.62. Quarterly is much better than the semi-annually, and semi-annually is much better than the annually. Next we have monthly and then we have daily. Rest of the values remain same, only the change is in the compounding frequency. In monthly, N will be equal to 12. In daily, N will be equal to 365 because in a year we have 365 days. Alright, now you knew how to solve it for different compounding frequency. You should be able to solve for monthly and daily. The rest of the values remain same, like principal, time and rate remain same. The only change is in compounding frequency. For a monthly, compounding frequency will be 12. And for a daily, compounding frequency will be 365 days. Therefore, you replace those values in the formula and solve it. Try yourself at home. Let's go to another type of problem solving. Example number 2. Pema borrowed Niltram 50,000 at 15% per annum, compounded annually. He agreed to the following payment plan. Niltram 15,000 at the end of the first year, Niltram 20,000 at the end of the second year, the final payment of the remaining amount at the end of the third year. Determine the amount of final payment. Borrowed, invested or deposited, they are the principal. The keyword borrowed, invested or deposited. By these three keywords, you should be able to know that it is 15% is the rate of interest. And compounded annually, that is the number of interest period. It is a compounding frequency. So annually means, as I said, n will be equal to 1. Time period will be after every 1 year. Let's find the amount for the first year. In the third sentence it says Niltram 15,000 at the end of the first year. This is the agreement plan for him to pay the loan or borrowed money. Let's check, including the interest, what is the amount after 1 year. Given P is equal to Niltram 50,000, rate is given 15%, that when you convert to decimal it will be 0.15, and N is equal to 1 because it is compounded N, and time period is equal to 1. Therefore, you substitute these things in a formula. A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N whole raised to NT. When we substitute, A is equal to 50,000 times 1 plus rate is 0.15 over N is 1 and raised to 1 times 1 according to the BETMAS. A is equal to 50,000 times, when you solve inside the bracket we get 1.15. A is equal to 50,000 times 1.15 is equal to 57,500. Your borrowed principal of Niltram 50,000 is amounted to Niltram 57,500 after 1 year. Then you have an agreement that you will pay Niltram 15,000 after 1 year. So that agreement, that payment that you are going to do should be subtracted from the total amount after 1 year. Therefore, the balance after paying Niltram 15,000 from 57,500 will be Niltram 42,500. This balance, Niltram 42,500, will be taken as a principal for the next year. Let's calculate the amount for the next year. That is the second year. Formula is same. Only here the principal changes because you are paying some amount after every year. With the principal Niltram 42,500, there is a balance of first year with a rate 15%, the same rate, and number of interest period as 1 compounded annually and time period as 1 year, will get amount is equal to 42,500 times 1 plus 0.15 raised to 1 times 1. So you have to solve inside the bracket. It makes 42,500 times 1.15 is equal to 48,875. The amount is Niltram 48,875. With that interest period, with that interest rate, that is 15% interest rate. Then you have an agreement plan that in a second year you are going to pay Niltram 20,000. Therefore, this Niltram 20,000 you have to subtract from the amount of the second year. It will be 48,875 minus Niltram 20,000 is equal to Niltram 28,875. this balance will be taken as principal for the next year. What will be the final amount that he need to pay after third year? Remaining principal of a second year. Rest of the terms like rate and time, compounding frequency remains same. Only the principal changes. So with the principal of a second year balance 28,875 times the 1 plus 0.15 over 1 raised to 1 times 1, it is going to be 28,875 times 1.15. You are going to get amount is equal to 33,206.25. In third year, after third year, you have to pay nil term 33,206.25. This is how you solve for a different time period. Because sometimes you are not able to pay the amount at a time. Then when you're somebody, the person that gives you a loan, or you can pay the amount in timely, like what we did just now. So in that case, that is how we solve or how we find. And now let's see for another type of question. Kim Jung purchases a car at Nultram 700,000. He must pay a 40% down payment but can borrow the rest from the bank. The bank charges an interest rate of 12% per annum compounded monthly on the loan. He pays Nultram 8,000 every month. Find the balance amount at the end of second month. First thing is, there is an amount for the car cost Nultram 700,000, and that 700,000 you are not able to pay at a time. There is a condition, you can do 40% down payment, which means down payment in simple word we say as advance. Then the rest of the balance, that is 60%. 60% it is given as a loan, will be the principal for borrowing. The bank charges, then the bank charges an interest rate of 12%. Then it is compounded monthly. He pays, then another condition is there, he pays Nultram 8,000 every month. Find the balance amount at the end of second month. As I said, 60% is the principal amount because 40% you are paying. So let's find the down payment first. 40% of total amount, how much you have to pay is 40% is 0.4 times 700,000, it comes to Nultram 280,000. Then principal will be either 60% of 700,000, or you can just subtract 700,000 minus the down payment. It comes to 420,000. So that is the principal. Taking this principal and the other conditions like rate as a 12% and number of compounding frequency as 12 and time period, we have talked in the beginning, if the time period is not given exactly, then you have to consider from the compounding frequency. Here the compounding frequency is monthly, therefore time period will be 1/12. Then let's find the amount after 1 year. Amount after 1 year using that same compound interest formula, A is equal to 420,000 times 1 plus rate is 0.12 over number of compounding frequency is 12 raised to n, that is 12 times 1 over 12. You are going to get 420,000 times 1.01. When you multiply this 2, you are going to get Nultrum 424,200. So that is the amount. But you know, after 1 year, he is going to pay Nultrum 1,000. That 1,000 you have to subtract from the first year's amount. It will be 424,200 minus 1,000 is equal to Nultrum 416,200. Taking this amount as a principal for second month and rest of the conditions remaining same, we are going to get in the second month 416,200 times 1 plus 0.12 over 12 raised to 12 times 1 over 12, we are going to get Nultrum 420,362. In a second month also, he is going to pay Nultrum 8,000. When you subtract 420,362 minus 8,000, you are going to get Nultrum 412,362. That will be the balance after second month. I have one activity for you. Let me read out the question. A man borrows Nultrum 22,500 at 10% per annum compounded annually. He repays Nultrum 11,250 at the end of the first year and Nultrum 12,550 at the end of second year. Find the amount of loan at the end of the third year. All right, hope you have understood the three types of question that we have solved so far. Now we have another type of question. This will be a short one, yet very important. How to find interest rate now? To find interest rate. Sometimes if the question asks you to find a rate, if it is not given, then this is the way how you find. Let's see. Question. Eugen borrowed Nultrum 30,000 at a certain rate of interest compounded quarterly. The balance was Nultrum 27,900 after making his first repayment of Nultrum 3,000. What was the rate of interest? Now, applying the same formula, first note down the P is equal to Nultrum 30,000, N is equal to 4. R, it is not given, we have to find it, so question mark, and time is not given again. Then we already learned that time we have to find from the compounding frequency. Therefore, time is equal to 3 months out of 12 months. It will be is equal to 1 over 4. And amount is equal to balance was Nultrum 27,900 after the repayment of 3,000. Therefore, amount is equal to 27,900 plus Nultrum 3,000. It makes to Nultrum 30,900. So, substitute these values into the formula. Amount is 30,900 is equal to principal is 30,000 times 1 plus R. We are going to find that one, so keep it as variable R only, divided by 4. N is equal to 4 raised to N is 4 times time is 3 over 12. So you can solve inside the bracket as usual, but you know you can't solve just now inside the bracket. So what you can do is you can solve the exponent. In an exponent you can cut 4 and the denominator 12. 4 times 3 is 12, and that 3 denominator and the numerator 3 can be cancelled as 1. Therefore, the exponent makes to 1. Then You consider that bracket as one variable and the front, this 30,000 as the value. This value 30,000 you can take to the other side. When you take to the other side, since here it is a multiplication, it will become as a division. So it will become as 30,900 divided by 30,000. So you divide this one, it makes to 1.03 is equal to 1 plus r over 4, because raised to anything 1 is itself. So it is 1 plus r over 4. Then on right hand side there is a 1. You take this 1 to the other side. It becomes 1.03 minus 1 is equal to r over 4. When you subtract it, it makes to 0.03 is equal to r over 4. Then you do cross multiply. It is equal to 0.03 times 4 is equal to r. Therefore, r is equal to 0.12. Since your r value, it is coming to 0.12, but you know the rate is always in percent. So you have to multiply by 100%. The rate is equal to 12%. So that is how you find. Okay, that is how we find the rate. When you find a rate, remember those steps. Follow the BEDMAS. Now I have one activity. Let me read out the question. Hamo borrowed Niltram 25,000 from a bank at a rate of interest compounded quarterly. The balance was Niltram 20,500 after making the first quarterly payment of Niltram 5,000. What was the interest rate? Today we have learned about the simple interest and its formula, how to calculate the simple interest, and we have learned what is compound interest and how to calculate the compound interest. Thank you so much for listening patiently. That's it from my side. Best of luck.